we're gonna have a little exercise. I want everybody to close your eyes and just clear your minds and think of your dream home. Where it would be, what it would look like, how many bedrooms, would it have a big fireplace, what the kitchen would look like, what the backyard would be, do you want a fence for your dog? All of those things, okay? So what you've just done is you've created a vision for something that could potentially happen. So that exercise is what goes on every construction project that we work on. You've identified a need to do something. You have a vision to create something. They're always driven by money. It's always driven by, if you make this investment, how much money will you make back? It's a very basic business principle. So this is, I got a call in last November from the Cleveland Browns, and they said, we're gonna buy the Columbus Crew MLS franchise. And we want a new stadium in Columbus. So we started working with them, and it started like, what is it gonna look like? What's your vision? What is it gonna be? So they hired an architect to come up with an idea here, which we'd have a lower plaza, and then you'd walk up into a stadium, and then walk down to get down to the field. And have a certain kind of a canopy. It would have a lot of amenities, and it would be a public space. This is their vision, that they wanted to get people to use it on non-game days, so that the city could do a little concert, they could do a little show in that plaza, as you see in the lower right. So we got on board, and then we went to the next step, and that was we had to choose a site. This is an example of a stadium that is being completed now in Qatar for the 2022 World Cup. This is the main stadium. It's in Lusail. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. I was there for a couple of weeks and couldn't wait to go home. It was ridiculously hot and humid. It's right on the Gulf. It was just, in fact, you can see the Gulf from the back. No, I was carrying a pair of sunglasses, and I said, I'm going home. 2 weeks, I'm out of here. So that's me in the middle of the field, and that was the vision that they had for their development. So this site, and choosing a site, and sometimes you choose a site for that old cliche of location. It's true, but nobody ever talks about the obstacles that go on to make something happen on a site. So what they wanted to do here was they wanted to put in the parking below the stadium. So they said that we have to do that. We have to have all this protected parking with security and all this stuff, so that the Emir comes in and he takes an elevator up to his 40,000 square foot seat. 40,000 square feet. That's like a whole 2 office floors. But they didn't realize is that you can see in the background here. Hopefully you can see that's the Gulf, and that the water table was, so the force from the water, if we did the parking as they proposed, the building was unstable and would actually float. The building would float. So not a good idea. So we talked them out of that early in the process. So anyway, that's the stadium that they chose, and the point is that's the site, and the site sometimes is not perfect, and you have to work around that. So the next thing everybody figures out is, what's this thing going to cost, and how much money are we going to make from that? So there's a group of people that do financial consulting. So they'll sit down and they'll talk to them, and they'll take their vision, and they'll say, well, what do you think we're going to do here? And I said, well, we need suites, we need a club, we're going to pay for parking, we're going to get somebody to give us money to name the building, we're going to do all these things, and this is our income. This is how much money we're going to make. And then based on that, how much money can we spend to make that money? How much are we going to invest in the business to make that return? So then what happens from there is they create a program. And the program, this is a I hope you can see that, but that's a plan view of DC United, and those colors represent different areas. So the one in the corner, the green one actually happens to be the team store. So they decided that they wanted 4,000 square feet, and they could sell so much merchandise, and everybody would be happy on that kind of return. Who's been to a DC United game? Anybody? Well, what's different here is that the players enter from the end zone. Remember in the World Cup when all those stuff on TV, they always come in, they got to hold hands with little kids, and they walk in from the sideline. So it's a very different feel to see these guys just wander across the field from the end zone. So once all of this happens, then someone like myself gets involved, and we put together a budget. So I'll look back at the last types of stadiums that we built and come up with the dollars per seat, dollars per square foot, and give them an indication of what I think the final cost of the job is going to be. Authorities are a big part of this. So imagine with your vision of the house, if you had to go convince somebody to give you money to do that, to build your house. Just imagine the sales job you'd have to do. So if you have a team and you want a stadium, you have to go to you're going to go to the city and you're going to say, listen, St. Louis, you want my team here, you got to give me something. You got to give me roads, you got to give me the utilities. In fact, you even have to use taxpayer money to kick into my deal. So that's quite an obstacle and quite a PR issue. So we would come up with a number, and then we would work with the designers to get the design to match the budget. And that's pretty much what I do for a living. So the next thing, after all of that, you have to go out and build it. So here's a picture of the transformation of Madison Square Garden. And this thing here is a muncher. And it walks around on top of the seating tiers, and it crushes them and knocks them down to the floor below. And the interesting point about this picture here is that Bob Nielsen was on this project in 1968,
No.
64?
Yeah, 68.
68.
Yeah.
So Bob Nielsen may have put in these seats that were crushed in 2010. This is the renovation in which we took, and the reason we did it is because it was underperforming, and they decided that if they could make an investment, they could get more return on their money. So it was a pretty major. It was actually it was close to $900 million. Made the concourses wider.
I think your renovation cost more than it cost to build the original building.
Oh God, yes. So what we had to do then is to put in new columns and distribute the load around a new, what they call a compression ring. So it's like a new bicycle tire on top of new columns. And we were doing all of this in the off season. So we, when the Rangers and the Knicks weren't playing, we were in there for 18 weeks working 24 hours a day for 7 days a week to get in there. And sure enough, the Rangers made the playoffs right when we were ready to start in May. We're saying, we're all hoping. They were saying, well, the Rangers, they'll never make it. And sure enough, the Rangers make the playoffs. We got a delayed start, and anyway. But there's a happy ending.